Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Esther, and guess what guys? It's another Finland day and we're going to be diving right into 25 weird things about life in Finland. And guys, this was a video by Jade Ventonieri. I hope I pronounced that correctly, and she's an American that is currently living in Finland. And I think she's got married to someone that lives in Finland or somebody that is from Finland. Now let's find out about these 25 weird things she talked about, okay? And like she always says, she enjoys her life in Finland. Let's know what this break is. Let's check it out.
Weird at first, but now I love it. Amazing, but was very strange when I first came here. It's like, what? So you came here because you want to hear some weird things about living in Finland? Interesting.
Sip your tea.
I'll give them to you, but first, a few disclaimers. Number one, when I say weird, I just mean different. Different doesn't mean bad or good. For example, in England, I think it's weird that you drive on the left side of the street. It's just different. So consider the word weird meaning different in this video. Number two disclaimer. Keep in mind that I am just a girl from Georgia, USA, who has lived one life there and had experiences there. And now I'm living in the country of Finland and have my own experiences here. So these things that are weird to me are just my personal opinions. And you might not think they're weird at all. So if that's okay with you, keep watching this video. So I'm gonna break down these 20 plus weird things about life in Finland into 5 different categories. One category are the social aspects. Another is about home life. Another about nature, then food, and then just being out and about at stores or driving, for example. But let's get into the 20-ish weird things about living in Finland. By the way, my name is Jade, or Jade, and I'm an American who's been living in Finland for 5 years. Make sure to follow along to see more about my life in Finland. Let's talk about the social aspects. Number one, it's so quiet here. It's like the default. It's just weird how quiet it is in different places in Finland. You can be in a mall and it's very quiet. You can be on a bus and it's very quiet, and that's just normal here. But coming from Atlanta, Georgia, or places in the US, it is quite loud by default. So that was weird to me. Along with that comes the second weird thing, is that there's not really any small talk with strangers in general. Of course, some people will talk to strangers and make conversation, but it's not a given. You should never expect that just because you're standing to someone on an elevator, you'll start talking with them about their day. Something else that's kind of weird about the social aspects is that you might not know your neighbors' names or people you've been talking to for a long time. So a lot of times at stores, even, people don't really wear name tags with their names on it. And also, you might just not know someone's name even though you talk to them daily, you go to the same gym or something like that. So that was kind of funny and weird too. But these antisocial qualities kind of start to dwindle when the weather gets warm outside. It's so funny seeing people come alive in the summertime, come alive when it starts to turn into spring. And that's a weird but funny thing, that the people kind of change during the seasons. So now on to house things. And this is the 5th weird thing, is how in a lot of households, there are moving products, like this moving mug I have. And I love these now, but the weird thing about it is, like, if I were to compare this to the US, I would consider these like Disney characters.
Yeah.
And that's not something just everyone has in their house. But here in Finland, it seems like almost everyone would have at least one thing that's moving, whether it's a cup or a book or a towel. This little girl and guy are quite popular here. And it's like a household item. Okay. Next weird thing, when you walk into a Finnish house, there's often 2 doors. So not like in the US where we have a screen door and the proper door. But here there's like one door you walk in and then you're in a room, and then a second door. And I'm not actually sure what it's for, but it's quite common in all houses that there's like this little eteen and like this little room before you actually get into the house.
Wow, guys, I think I love that. And for me, if I were to live in Finland or if that was my house, I would use that particular small room before you enter into the main house as where you pull off your shoes and drop your jacket. Example, let's say if it's raining or if it was snowing, you don't walk into the house, the main house, with the shoes and the jacket dripping water and the rest of them. So I think that small space is where I would probably have a hanger where you could hang your jacket and a shoe rack where you could place your shoes. And that's perfect. I love that. I love that. Let's keep watching, guys.
Also, centralized air conditioning and heating isn't really a thing in Finland, and that's kind of weird. For example, these heaters that are like lined up with the window, and that's how the home stays warm in the winter. And that's also why it's so hot.
Exactly. Now, for this one, I think it's a general thing in the whole of Europe, right? In England, for example, you've got this kind of thing. You would decide to turn on your knobs, for that particular room, or you can decide to turn it off. It depends on your choice. However, there's some places that have got the centralized heating system, but that doesn't stop the fact from, you turning off the whole thing if you want to, especially if it's too cold or if it's too warm. But I like that here. But here in Canada, it's a centralized heating system. I think that it's similar to the US because Canada and US they are like brother and sisters. They are very close to each other. Now this one is something I also find fascinating. Let's keep watching, guys.
In the summer, because our walls and windows are very good for insulating and keeping the heat in. But in the summer when it's hot, it also keeps the heat in. But yeah, it's not super common to have like air conditioning in the whole house. And that was a little weird when I came. Showers in Finland, I guess they're kind of practical, but a little bit weird how it's not like a raised shower or like a bathtub. It's just the whole bathroom floor. So when you shower, water kind of just goes everywhere. And you use this thing called, actually, I don't know what it's called in Finnish or really in English, but I'll call it a squeegee that you like dry the floor with. Some people love having that kind of bathroom where it's all one floor, the showers are really separate, but it's quite weird to me. Another weird thing about the homes are like having brand names in the house. So I was trying to compare it to the US, thinking, okay, what's some brand names that people even have in their house? And I couldn't really think of any brands that people have in their house. But here in Finland, I feel like the brands are super strong. Like you might have Iittala dishware, or you might have Finlayson cloths, or you might have Moomin Arabia cups. But yeah, I feel like in US, there wasn't any specific brand that came to mind for like glassware or tablecloths or bedding. I don't know. So kind of weird that the brands are so strong here for home items. So that's about maybe 9 or so weird things down. But let's move on to nature things. A lot of these weird things about nature are actually some of my favorite things now. And one of the weird things is how often and normal it is just to go to the forest. So the forest is somewhere you kind of just go to relax, get a breath. It's somewhere you walk through to get to the store sometimes or your school. And it's also someplace I just invite friends to hang out, like, hey, want to go for a walk through the forest? Which is something I would never have done in the US, like just a casual forest in the neighborhood. We're kind of taught that the forests are a scary place and that's where the scary people live. Weird at first, but now I love it, how much the forest is a part of daily life. Also, in the forest, you can forage and eat things. So there's this thing called Every Man's Rights, and it applies to a lot of different things in the forest that kind of, regardless of where it is, besides private property, but regardless of where it is in the free space in the forest, you can eat berries and mushrooms and pick things, and I think that's really cool and weird to think that you're just getting something from nature and being able to eat it. I think that's so cool though. It's also weird but cool how no matter the season or the weather, people are always outside. Honestly. So whether it's minus 20 degrees Celsius, whether it's raining, you'll still see people biking, walking to the store, carrying groceries, walking with their kids to school. Like the weather doesn't stop people here. Then we have the weird but amazing thing called midnight sun here in Finland in the summer, where the days are super bright for a long period of time, sometimes past midnight, even in the south of Finland. And that is amazing, but was very strange when I first came here. I was like, what? It's so bright inside the house, and it is 11 p.m. Then on the flip side, the weird thing is in the winter, there is no sun basically. We have really short days and the sun doesn't rise until like 9 or 10 o'clock and it goes down already around 3. So that was a weird and not so nice thing. Now onto food. Number 15, weird thing about Finland. I have never seen a cheese slicer before I came to Finland. Again, maybe I just in my family and my friend group and
Cheese slicer.
everyone I've ever met has never sliced cheese. But here, they have this thing called a juustohöylä, and you slice cheese with it. I mean, it makes sense, but I've always bought pre-sliced cheese. Weird, but cool. Another weird thing is at lunchtime in Finland, there's a lot of great buffets for lunch, but there's no soda often, which in the US, you kind of drink soda often for lunch and dinner, but there's actually milk for lunch, which is quite weird, and there's free refills on that, and free refills for coffee. But soda, not really at lunch, like a fountain, like the fountain drinks, but of course you can buy it in a bottle, but no free refills. Weird. Another thing about when you're eating out is that there's not a tipping culture. Weird, but great. I already mentioned the soda refills, but that's also at dinner. So if you get a soda at dinner, it's quite weird that you can't get a refill of that. You have to pay if you want.
Now, before we continue, for the soda refill, it was a culture shock for me, migrating from my home country, Nigeria, to Canada and becoming a Canadian, it was quite a culture shock. Let's keep watching.
A refill of your soda. And I just mentioned this one too, but it needs to be said by itself. There's almost always free coffee refills. So if you go to a cafe, if you go to lunch and you have dessert after, you have free refills of your coffee if it's just from the drip coffee. And weird, but good. And the coffee culture here is so big, so it makes sense why people drink so much coffee, because they can just keep filling up their cups at restaurants over and over again. This should be weird thing number 20. But if not, let's see what number it is here.
What's that?
Now on to just being out and about. The weird things about life in Finland when you're out and about. One thing that's weird is when you're driving. In the US, we're allowed to turn right on a red light. In Finland, you can't turn right on a red light. That's fine. That's okay. But it was weird when I would ask my husband, why aren't you turning? No one's coming. And he's like, the light is red. So weird, but fine. When you're at grocery stores, you have to weigh the produce yourself and put a sticker on it and take it to the cashier when you check out. So that's something that was weird and you need to know of, or else you'll hold up the line at the grocery store if you didn't weigh your produce ahead of time. Also at the grocery store, it is strange that you won't find a lot of still water bottles, like water bottles. You won't find a lot at the store, but you'll find a lot of sparkling water bottles, which makes sense because the water here in Finland is so good that you don't really need to buy a bottle of filtered water. Just go to the sink and get your own water. Or bring your own bottle when you're traveling and fill it up in sinks. So if you're looking for filtered bottled water at a store or gas station, you might not find it. It's hard to find. On the topic of grocery stores, in the US, you'll often find pharmacies inside the stores or the ability to buy medicine from a store. So if you need ibuprofen or Band-Aids or contact solution, you can get that from a grocery store. But here in Finland, it's weird that you can't get any of that stuff outside of a pharmacy. And oftentimes pharmacies are separate than grocery stores. So if you have a headache, if you need a Band-Aid, if you need contact solution, you can't buy it from a grocery store. You have to go to a pharmacy. So that's a little weird and inconvenient, if I'm honest, but it's fine. Then another weird thing is the monopoly of Alko, which is the alcohol store in Finland. There's only one, which is interesting. And so in the US, there's, a bunch of different types of liquor stores owned by families, owned by other businesses, blah, blah, blah. And you can find them anywhere. And they all have different names and different owners. But here in Finland, there's only one chain for alcohol stores called Alko. And then one thing that is weird and kind of kills me is the fact that there's no drive-through coffee shops in Finland that I've found yet or seen or heard of. So again, it's great for culture and great for, slowing down. But if you want to get a coffee, you kind of have to park your car, go inside the coffee shop, and most likely just enjoy it there. Or of course you can get a to-go cup and get back in your car and drive. But I am missing that convenience of being on the way to work and be like, ooh, I want a latte to go, and just drive through and get it. So weird that there's no drive-through coffee shops in Finland yet. Well, I'm sure I left out some things, and I'm sure I maybe rambled on a few weird things a little too long. But that's the list. A little over 20 weird things about life in Finland. And I love it. I love life in Finland. And these weird things are things now that are so special to me and make me so happy to live in Finland. Which one of these weird things do you think is the
Wow.
funniest? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Moikka!
Wow, guys, this was so beautiful and funny to listen to. I also love the fact that they've got free coffee refills, just like here in Canada, they've got free soda refills in most of the shops you go to buy, maybe chips or something, and that is amazing. Still, I love it. My friends in the house, how do you perceive these, things listed here by Jade or Yade? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and if it's the first time here, please don't forget to give me a very big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel to support your girl, okay? To stay tuned because there is so much more coming your way. So we'll see you in our next video. Kitos.